Welcome back with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Head over to youtube.com. Put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser when you get there. Find us, subscribe to our page, leave us a comment. Of course, we are free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. Spotify, Odyssey, you can find us on all your favorites, and then start review. And of course, follow me on my Twitter at JMCH316. When we last left you with the Atlanta Hawks on Friday morning, we had gotten DeJounte Murray. I actually had a chance to interview DeJounte Murray on Friday afternoon. Very excited to have him here. He said that he and Trey had been talking for the last few weeks. He was very familiar with Nate McMillan. He had been kind of following the Hawks, so a lot of excitement around there. But then we also got word on Friday afternoon about another deal, a couple of deals actually, that the Atlanta Hawks had made. So the Atlanta Hawks had traded Kevin Huerter to the Sacramento Kings for Maurice Harkless and Justin Holiday. And then the Hawks also earlier in the day had signed Aaron Holiday to a 1-year, basically $2 million deal. So we got two of the three Holidays. May not have gotten the best of the three Holiday brothers, but we got two of the three. So where are we at now with all of this? Now, the Kevin Huerter trade, let's be honest. Okay, well, no, I'm going to be honest. Okay. With all due respect, I know he's a vet. I know he's come up through the organization, drafted, all this, that, and the other. There are 100 guys that do what Kevin Huerter does, okay? He's a 12-5 guy. Yeah, he can have a moment here and a moment there. There are 100 guys in the league that do what Kevin Huerter does. Are they going to miss him from a basketball perspective? I don't know. I mean, they have a backlog. They got a jammed-up backcourt right now with adding Murray. The Aaron Holiday signing, that's your replacement for DeLon Wright, who I don't know how DeLon Wright worked himself into 2 years and $16 million, but God bless, man. God bless him for getting good money like that. So Aaron Holiday, he's going to be your backup point guard, defensive-minded guy, right? He literally is the almost exact replacement for what DeLon Wright does. And he had a pretty good year defensively, especially for Phoenix. So he's been with a good organization, so that all makes sense. The two guys that the Hawks brought back in the trade for Kevin Huerter, Harkless and the brother, look, here's the reality. You move $65 million off your books for the next 4 years. So if you're talking about making another move, getting into the luxury tax, this, that, and the other, you have to find a way to balance some of that out. And it's not coincidence that the two guys that they traded for, yes, it saves them about $3 million. It's about $3 million difference between what Huerter was going to make this year and what those two guys are going to make. But they are both on final year contracts. So they're both on, as we say, expiring year contracts with the Atlanta Hawks. So these are two guys, whether you want to move them now, whether you just play them out for the year, come next year, you have no financial obligation to them. Whereas with Huerter, he literally is starting the first year of that $65 million new contract that he got, right? So he's moving himself into $14.5 million per year over the next handful of years. So it makes sense from a business perspective that, okay, whether we're going to move now, move later, whatever like that, we've got a couple of guys that we brought in that we don't have any long-term financial obligation to, and it still allows us that if they want to make a move for a DeAndre Ayton or whatever, because you're going to have to pay him or somebody like him big-time money. You know, if you're going to get into a sign and trade with a big money guy, it's nice to know that you've got Huerter off the books moving forward. That's going to help free up some cash space, and then you can navigate your bench and your roster and things like that. In a sense, they chose Bogey over Kevin Huerter in this situation, is what they did to save some money. Hey, let me tell you about my friends over at Bet Online. They are sponsoring the show today. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports information. Look, I know it's cool right now. You got summertime. You can bet every day on baseball. You got boxing, golf, Tigers playing again, right? We got one more major in the golf world coming up. There's a lot going on. And, oh, yeah, don't look now. But we're getting right around the corner from getting into NFL football, right? And if you're a real degenerate, I guess you can bet on preseason games and things like that. But I'm not going to suggest you do all of that. But betonline.net is your best source for all of your sports betting needs and all of your information. You want wagering information. You want live betting, esports, scores, things like that. Everything is right there at your fingertips at betonline.net. It is the best spot to go for all of your podcasts, your news on during the season. your scores, everything out there. The fastest, easiest way to be able to bet is through betonline.net. So use your mobile device, head to the website today, learn more about some of the trends in action that is out there. And for our folks here, listen, we want you to always go to betonline.net for all of your betting needs. betonline.net, where it starts. So right now, that this has been a successful offseason for the Atlanta Hawks. Even if they don't make another move, and even if they don't move on from John Collins. Remember, John Collins is the guy that the blue checkmark media reminded us was going to be traded on draft night, and that never happened, but that's okay. We won't get into the semantics of everything. Could they still move Collins? Probably. But moving Herter off the books also makes it a lot easier than moving forward, because look, Tony Ressler said, we'll get in the luxury tax if it makes business sense. Well, it's not just blindly, and it's not just loading up into the luxury tax. You have to have some financial, I don't want to say stability, or some smarts about how you do this. It's not keeping a bunch of high-priced players. There are going to be some hard decisions that you're going to have to make. And Herter was probably one of those guys. I know they like Herter. He's done some good things here. He's had some big moments. He had some moments in the playoffs for us last year. From a basketball perspective, you can find 100 guys that do what Kevin Herter does, and you can find them for a lot less than $14.5 million. I understand the homegrown aspect, and that's the kind of guys and the role players that you want to have out there. But if I have to take on another $35, $40 million contract, I've got to find a way to also have the flexibility to do some other things and fill up my roster. We're not ready to be the Lakers or the Brooklyn Nets and have all these high-priced guys and run at things like that, right? Because once you get into the luxury tax in the NBA, that's a cycle that really can punish your franchise. I mean, 1 year turns into 2. That goes from, matching $1 per to moving up, and everything starts to kind of spiral out of control. Remember, the old Brooklyn Nets owner, Prokhorov, the Russian billionaire, finally had enough of way overspending on the roster and was like, this is like a losing proposition to be this far into the luxury tax. So it has to be smart about how you did it. And I think getting a couple of guys back, whether they play a season, whether you move on from them, but you have no responsibility moving forward with them, is very smart business from the Atlanta Hawks. And that's why I do think that there is one more move coming. Now, again, they've said they're not moving John Collins unless they can get ready to win now players, right? You're not giving up John Collins as an asset if they're not ready to win now. So the whole, the Harrison Barnes for John Collins thing to me is ridiculous. Harrison Barnes is not a ready to win now player to make the Hawks that much better, right? It's got to be smart. I'd rather keep John Collins than just move him for the sake of saying that we moved along for them. But I do think that they are setting themselves up, and I think they've done a good job of giving themselves some financial flexibility to be able to move forward and add and change some pieces up. Yeah, they still have some minor moves that they're going to have to make, right? I mean, there's going to be a spot here and a spot there, but, look, AJ Griffin's going to get a shot on this team. Johnson's going to get a shot on this team. Maybe Cooper, but he did sign a 2-way contract, so most likely he'll start off again in College Park to play for the Skyhawks. But you're going to have some of your young guys on your bench. You're going to have, a piece here and a piece there. But I think by and large, you can set yourself up to make one more big move, whatever that is. I'm not, again, I will tell you, I'm not thrilled by the names that I hear. DeAndre Ayton or Ben Simmons or people like that. I'm not really interested in all that. And the available marketplace of guys is really narrow. But remember, we also didn't hear about the DeJounte Murray news. That was not, I can tell you, I was at the Atlanta Hawks draft party. That was the first that I had heard, read, seen, was informed about their interest in DeJounte Murray on draft night. So that happened a few days later. And again, within a week, we already had DeJounte Murray signed, sealed, delivered, ready to go, and he had his opening press conference, right? So things can move fast in the NBA. There can be some guys that you think that might be available that all of a sudden, or don't think that are available, that all of a sudden become available in all of this. And certainly some guys that maybe we have not even mentioned or talked about. Just because there hasn't been a Woj bomb or a sham bomb or whatever that's out there, doesn't mean that there aren't some behind the scenes talks. But of the available players that are left, I can't tell you that I'm really excited. I'd rather keep the group that we have with the changes that we've made and see what we can do from there. All right, when we get back, boy, there was a hot rumor over the weekend that Buster Olney put out there. DeGrom to the Braves? We'll talk about that next. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.